Have you ever wondered what it would be like to occupy a man's mind day and night without even trying? Imagine him lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying your words in his head, feeling a rush of excitement every time he sees your name pop up on his phone. Imagine him craving your presence, even in a crowded room, because no one else makes him feel the way you do. But let's be real. Most women go about this all wrong. They think looking perfect, being always available, or chasing his attention will make him obsessed. But in reality, that's the quickest way to make him lose interest. Here's the truth. Men don't just fall for beauty. They fall for emotions, the way a woman makes them feel. If you can master that, you can make him think about you non-stop. Not just when he's bored, not just when he wants something, but in those deep, quiet moments when he least expects it, yet can't help himself. So how do you do it? How do you slip under his skin in a way that lingers long after you've walked away? Today I'm going to share with you 5 powerful secrets, backed by psychology and real-world attraction dynamics, that will make you unforgettable. These are not the typical surface-level tricks. These are the kind of shifts that will change the way he sees you, the way he feels about you, and ultimately, the way he craves you. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand exactly what it takes to live rent-free in his mind. So let's dive in. 1. Create emotional triggers. Have you ever met someone who left an imprint on you? Not because of how they looked, but because of how they made you feel. Maybe it was the way they made you laugh until your stomach hurt, or the way they spoke to you in a moment of vulnerability that made you feel truly seen. That's the kind of impact you need to have if you want to make a man think about you non-stop. Men are wired to seek out emotional highs, and if you can create those moments with him, you become a source of something he can't ignore, something he craves. Most women focus on looking good, responding fast, and being agreeable, thinking that will make them unforgettable. But let's be real. How many times have you seen a stunning woman who still got ghosted? Looks might attract him, but emotions are what make him stay. The key is to trigger powerful emotions in him that are so unique, so addictive, that his brain starts associating you with excitement, depth, and joy. And once that happens, he'll keep thinking about you, even when he doesn't mean to. One of the easiest and most effective ways to do this is through laughter. When a man laughs with you, his brain releases dopamine, the same feel-good chemical associated with pleasure and addiction. If every time he sees you, he expects to feel good, he'll start seeking your presence without even realizing why. This doesn't mean you have to be a comedian, but it does mean you should know how to have fun. Playfulness is incredibly attractive. Tease him in a way that makes him laugh. Give him a fun nickname or create inside jokes that only the two of you understand. Men become obsessed with women who make them feel lighthearted and carefree because deep down, they crave a break from the pressures of their lives. But laughter alone isn't enough. If you really want to hook him, you need to add depth to the equation. People remember those who make them feel something real. This is where vulnerability comes in. No, I'm not saying spill your life story on the first date, but don't be afraid to share something meaningful. Let's say he tells you about a difficult experience. Don't just nod and move on. Ask deeper questions. Show him you genuinely care. Open up about something small from your own life, and watch how it draws him in. Men aren't used to feeling emotionally safe with women, so when they find someone who makes them feel that way, it's magnetic. They won't even realize they're thinking about you because they'll just feel drawn to you. And then there's the challenge. If you want him to think about you constantly, you can't be too easy to figure out. Men love the feeling of earning something. If you're always agreeing with everything he says, always available, never pushing back, there's nothing to chase. And without the chase, there's no excitement. You don't have to play games, but you do have to maintain a little bit of unpredictability. Challenge him in a way that excites him. If he makes a bold statement, playfully call him out on it. If he expects you to say yes to every plan, sometimes say no and do your own thing. This isn't about being distant or difficult. It's about showing him that you're a woman with your own mind, someone he needs to keep up with. Here's the real magic. Once you start triggering these emotions, he won't even realize that you're living in his head. He'll just start feeling the pull toward you. He'll find himself reaching for his phone just to check if you've texted. He'll replay moments with you in his mind, smiling to himself without knowing why. And that's how you become unforgettable. But emotional triggers are just the beginning. Because if you thought making him feel something was powerful, wait until you see what happens when you introduce mystery and unpredictability into the mix. The moment he starts wondering about you, questioning what's on your mind, and feeling like he needs to figure you out, that's when he won't be able to stop thinking about you. And trust me, that's exactly where you want him to be. 2. Be mysterious and unpredictable. Have you ever noticed how the people who keep us up at night, the ones who linger in our thoughts long after they're gone, are often the ones we can't quite figure out? There's something about mystery that is intoxicating. It pulls us in, ignites our curiosity, and makes us crave more. If you want a man to think about you non-stop, you need to master the art of being just unpredictable enough to keep him on his toes. Most women make the mistake of being too available, too predictable, and too easy to read. They think that by responding quickly, sharing everything about themselves, and always saying yes to plans, they'll win a man's heart. But the truth is, that just makes you forgettable. Men don't obsess over what they already know. They obsess over what they don't. Think about it. Have you ever started reading a book and then had to keep turning the pages because you just needed to know what happens next? That's exactly how you want him to feel about you. The moment he thinks he has you all figured out, the excitement fades. But if there's always a little bit of mystery, always a little uncertainty about what you're thinking, feeling, or doing, his mind will keep returning to you because it won't be able to let you go. So how do you create this magnetic sense of mystery and unpredictability without playing games or being distant? The first step is to resist the urge to overshare. It's so tempting to spill every detail about your life when you like someone, but the most captivating women know how to hold something back. When he asks you a question, don't always give the full answer. Leave some things unsaid. Let him wonder. If he asks about your weekend, don't give him a detailed breakdown of every moment. Instead, say something intriguing like, "It was interesting. I'll tell you about it later." Then watch how he wants to know more. When you create little gaps in information, his mind naturally fills them in. And that's what keeps him hooked. Another way to be unpredictable: don't always be available. If he thinks he can have your attention whenever he wants, he'll take it for granted. Instead, keep your own life full, your schedule busy, and your priorities in check. If he texts you, don't always reply instantly. If he asks you to hang out, don't always say yes. Sometimes, you should be the one who's unavailable, not in a cold way, but in a way that shows him you're a woman who values her own time. When a man realizes that he's not your entire world, it makes him want to be a bigger part of it. And let's talk about unpredictability in your interactions. If every conversation, every date, every moment with you feels expected, his brain won't have a reason to keep replaying them. But if you add little surprises into the mix, suddenly you become a puzzle he wants to solve. Maybe one day you send him a playful voice note instead of a text. Maybe you randomly change the subject mid-conversation just to catch him off guard. Maybe one night you're teasing him and the next, you're being deeply thoughtful. The key is to never let him know what's coming next. When he doesn't know, he'll keep thinking about you, trying to anticipate your next move, and feeling that addictive rush of excitement every time you interact. And here's the most powerful trick of all. Leave moments unfinished. If you're texting, end the conversation on a high note before it starts to feel dull. If you're in person, love him with a moment that makes him want more. A lingering touch, a playful glance, an unfinished thought. When something ends abruptly, the mind naturally keeps going back to it, trying to complete it. And that's what makes a man think about you, even when he doesn't want to. Now, if this is making sense to you, and you're feeling that little spark of excitement, then you already know this is something you want to master. So if you're loving this so far, make sure to like this video and comment number 1 below to let me know you're here for it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because trust me, there's so much more to come, and you don't want to miss it. And speaking of things he won't be able to forget, wait until you see what happens when you leave a sensory imprint on his mind. If you thought mystery was powerful, just wait until you make him associate something physical with you. That's when the real obsession begins. 3. Leave a sensory imprint. Have you ever caught a scent in the air that instantly took you back to a memory so vivid, it felt like you were reliving it? Maybe it was the smell of fresh coffee, reminding you of a cozy morning with someone special, or the familiar chords of a song that made your heart ache with nostalgia. That's the power of sensory memory, and if you know how to use it, you can make a man think about you non-stop without even being in the room. Men, just like women, are deeply influenced by their senses, often without even realizing it. While they might not always remember what you said, they'll remember the way you smelled, the way your voice sounded, and the way your touch felt. These sensory experiences leave invisible marks in their minds, and long after you're gone, they linger. If you want to occupy his thoughts, if you want him to crave you even when he's alone, you need to create a signature sensory experience that ties his thoughts back to you. Let's start with scent, because this is one of the strongest triggers for memory and attraction. Have you ever hugged someone and later found yourself catching their scent on your clothes, feeling an inexplicable pull toward them? That's because smell is directly linked to the brain's limbic system, which controls emotions and memories. If you have a signature scent, one specific perfume you always wear, he'll start associating that scent with you. The next time he smells something similar, even if you're not there, you'll flash through his mind like a memory he can't escape. But the trick isn't just in wearing perfume. It's in how you use it. Spray a little on his jacket when you borrow it. Let it linger on his sheets after a night together, or subtly leave traces of it in his space. He won't just think about you, he'll feel you, even when you're miles away. Then there's touch. If you want to be unforgettable, the way you touch him matters more than you think. It's not about being overly affectionate or constantly clinging to him. It's about the kind of touch that leaves an impression. A slow, lingering touch on his arm when you're talking. A playful brush against his hand when you pass him something. A light squeeze on his shoulder when you walk past him. The human body remembers touch, especially when it's unexpected but pleasant. If you touch him in a way that's just a little different from what he's used to, he'll start noticing you in a way he didn't before. And once he notices, he won't be able to stop thinking about it. Now let's talk about sound. The way you speak, the tone of your voice, even the way you say his name. These can be powerful triggers for attraction. Some women have a way of speaking that draws people in, a rhythm in their voice that makes even the simplest words sound magnetic. You don't need to change your voice. You just need to use it intentionally. Speak softer when you want him to lean in. Slow down when you say something meaningful, letting each word set in his mind. And when you tease him, add a little playfulness to your tone. A subtle upturn in your voice that makes him feel the chemistry between you. But one of the most powerful ways to create a sensory imprint is through music. Have you ever shared a song with someone, and years later, it still reminds you of them? Music has a way of embedding itself into emotions, turning moments into something that lasts. If you want to be unforgettable, find a song that represents your energy, something you listen to often when you're with him. Maybe it's a song that plays in the background on a perfect night together, or maybe it's something you casually hum when you're around him. The goal is for him to hear it later when you're not there and feel a rush of emotion, a pull toward you that he doesn't even understand. And finally, let's not forget about taste. This might seem unexpected, but think about it. How many times have you associated a specific food or drink with a particular person? Maybe it's a certain cocktail you always order, or a signature dish you make that no one else does quite like you. If there's something specific that he always experiences with you, it creates a subtle but powerful connection. The next time he tastes that same thing, guess who's going to be on his mind? The beauty of sensory imprints is that they work without effort. You don't need to remind him to think about you. His own senses will do the work for you. He'll catch a scent in the air and suddenly remember the way you felt in his arms. He'll hear a song in a cafe and find himself smiling, thinking about you. He'll feel a ghost of your touch when he's lying in bed alone, wishing you were there. And when all these little triggers start stacking up, he won't stand a chance. You'll be in his thoughts, not because you forced your way in, but because you became a part of his world in a way he can't shake off. But sensory imprinting is just one piece of the puzzle. Because if you truly want to make him obsessed with you, if you want him to feel your absence in a way that drives him crazy, then you need to master the art of giving him space to miss you. And that's when his thoughts will stop being something he can control and start being something escape. Fourth, give him space to miss. Have you ever noticed that the things we can't have always seem more desirable? The moment something is just out of reach, it suddenly becomes all we can think about. This is human psychology at its finest, and when it comes to attraction, it's one of the most powerful forces at play. If you want a man to think about you non-stop, you have to create the space for him to miss you. Because if you're always there, always available, always responding the second he reaches out, how can he ever truly crave you? Most women make the mistake of thinking that closeness is built through constant communication. They believe that the more they text, the more they call, the more they show up, the more a man will feel connected to them. But the truth is, attraction needs space to breathe. If you never step back, if you never give him the chance to feel your absence, he'll never have the opportunity to realize how much he actually wants you. The trick isn't to be distant or cold. It's to create just enough distance for him to start noticing the void when you're not there. Think about the last time you were excited to see a message from someone. Chances are, it wasn't from the person who texts you all the time. It was from someone whose attention felt a little unpredictable. Someone who made you wonder when you'd hear from them next. That's the exact effect you want to have on him. When you don't respond instantly, when you let some silence linger, it creates anticipation, and anticipation is where desire grows. But let's get one thing clear. Giving him space isn't about playing games or acting indifferent. It's about making sure your life is full, so full that he has to work to be a part of it. If you're always ready the second he reaches out, what does that tell him? It tells him that you're waiting. And if he senses that he can have your attention whenever he wants, he won't value it the same way. But if you're genuinely busy, genuinely engaged in your own passions, friendships, and personal growth, your presence becomes a gift, something he has to earn, something he wants more of. And here's the best part. When you create space, you give him the chance to chase you. Men are wired to pursue. They don't want something handed to them on a silver platter. They want to win it. If he always knows exactly when he'll hear from you, exactly what you'll say, exactly when you'll be available, there's no thrill, no challenge. But when you step back, when you let him be the one to reach out, to initiate, to wonder where you are, that's when his mind starts running in circles, trying to figure you out. And here's where the magic happens. When he finally does get your attention again, it feels special. The contrast between your absence and your presence makes him appreciate you more. He'll start checking his phone, hoping for a message from you. He'll replay your last conversation, wondering when he'll get to talk to you again. He'll feel that pull, that undeniable longing, and he won't even know why. Now I know what you might be thinking. What if he loses interest if I give him space? Here's the thing. If a man truly likes you, space won't make him forget about you. It'll make him want you more. If he disappears the moment you stop chasing, he was never really invested in the first place. But if he starts to feel your absence, if he starts to miss you, that's when you know you've hooked him on a deeper level. And let's be honest, this isn't just about making him think about you. This is about you stepping into your own power. When you focus on your life, when you stop making a man the center of your world, you become magnetic. You radiate confidence, independence, and a sense of mystery that makes you irresistible. You're no longer the woman waiting by the phone. You're the woman he's chasing. So, if this is resonating with you, if you're starting to see how giving him space can actually make him obsessed with you, then like this video and comment number 1 below to let me know you're getting it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because we're only getting started. And speaking of obsession, wait until you see what happens when you become his escape. The one person who makes him feel alive in a way no one else can. Because that's when he stops thinking about you and starts needing you. And trust me, you don't want to miss this.